Guys, how are we doing? It's Ben Hawksuff at the Coach Consultant, and in today's video we're going to be looking at a current state assessment of our content production system. So in essence, guys, if you want to get better at social media, if you want to get more followers, if you want to get more engagement, if you want to get more interactions, get more appointment bookings, get more sales, then it comes back to actually critically assessing and critically refining what you are doing on an ongoing basis, right? So this is basically a flow that I want to walk you through, and as I'm basically going through this flow diagram, what I want you to do is I want you to, in essence, potentially to start asking yourself these questions, in essence answering them in your head as you're digesting it, and even afterwards go back and write this down. Now, I'd always highly recommend in not only just kind of digesting something, but writing it down, getting pen to paper so you've got something to reflect back on. Right. So as a first starting point, what we've got to look at is the actual flow to it. Right. So the flow to it is going to be from here to here to here, and then all the way through back round. And as we can see, it comes back round to the start again at the top. Right. So the first starting point that we've basically got to look at is number one, and that is purpose. Right. So what is the actual purpose of what you're posting? Right? Are you actually posting with any type of meaning, with any type of purpose, with any type of direction? Because if your content doesn't have purpose for you and a purpose and an objective, then you are in essence just throwing shit at a wall and hoping that something sticks. So that's the most important thing that you need to consider before you even start designing any form of content, is what is the actual purpose behind what I'm doing? Am I trying to generate trust? Am I trying to generate connection? Am I trying to get a lead? Am I trying to showcase a client journey? Right? Each piece of content needs to have a specific form of focus and in purpose, for example. So, for example, am I trying to come in and educate someone? Am I trying to come in and entertain someone? Am I trying to show as much authenticity as possible? Right? And that's actually one on its own. The next thing that will come into that point is audience, right? So purpose is number one, audience is number two. So what we've basically got here is, am I actually speaking to a specific person? So if you have not got to a point yet where you've isolated a niche, I would highly recommend doing that, because if you are speaking to a specific person, then you will have more purpose, because you will actually know who you are speaking to and what you are saying and what purpose you want them to go through. So that's why it's so important to make sure that you obsessively know your social media audience, right? From that point, we've got to think about clarity, right? A lot of the time, people are trying to overcomplicate and reinvent the wheel when it comes to social media, right? In reality, is it really, really clear what I do and how I do it? Because if it's not clear with your offer, with what you do and how you do it, then why would someone actually trust us? Why would someone buy into what you are doing, right? So obviously the purpose, the audience, we're moving into clarity, right? So this has just been really, really clear in essence with what your short form message is, where you stand, what your position is, what your offer is, what your method is, what your unique approach is, right? Because if we can combine purpose with clarity, then that's going to get a hell of a lot more buy-in than just throwing shit at a wall and hoping something sticks, right? The next point from that is value, right? So am I actually providing this niche with value? And remember, as I've said on many other YouTube videos before, value comes in different shapes and forms. It's not just about educating someone. It's about how you can bring entertainment through, how you can bring relevance through, how you can bring inspiration through, right? And relevance as well, sorry. And then from that point, we've basically got authenticity, right? So authenticity is basically where you're asking the question of, am I actually talking as myself? Am I actually acting as myself? Right? You are the most important asset within this whole business. If you are not being yourself, then that is going to automatically put you into a place of saturation, because you might be posting with purpose, you might be talking to the right audience, you might have clarity, you might have value, but guess what, guys? Every other online coach in the world is doing that type of stuff, or some of them, or they should be, or trying to. So what's the only thing that's going to actually separate you from all of these variables? It's going to be how authentic that you are in that process. The next step from that point, which I've just suggested twice before, I think I said that, which is relevance. This is so important, right? You always need to consider and think about and create content based on what your niche is currently going through and currently feeling and experiencing. So, for example, this could be making sure that you are thinking about what type of life moments that they're about to go through. You're looking at seasonal style topics and structures. You're talking about stuff that other influencers have been kind of talking about. You can be talking about stuff, what's going off in the news, what relates to them. But having relevance is so important, because if people are actively thinking about it and you create create content on it, you're automatically going to get engagement and interaction just from that alone. The next step from that point is engagement. And if you go back onto one of my previous videos, I said about the importance of entertainment and laugh, right? In essence, like how you can actually play into someone's humor. So the question that I wanted to ask yourself here is, would I actually watch my own content? Like that's solved for so many things for so many clients I've worked with. Going, right, when you created that piece of content, when you watch it back, do you actually like what you are seeing? Do you think it's funny? Do you think it's connecting? Do you think it's authentic? Because if you're creating content that you hate creating and you're cringing to watch it back, then more than likely your audience isn't going to like that, because it's very obvious that you're not being authentic. It's probably obvious that you're not actually providing value, right? You're not actually speaking to the right type of person, right? The next one from that is consistency. Are you actually in a position where the content that you are creating and how you are managing it is going to be sustainable to do this for the next week, month, year, and decade, right? Management is the one thing that breaks down a content production system. Trust me, I've thousands of people I've helped with this now. Management is literally the bottom line of why people are better at content than others, right? The people who make time to space things out. So for example, looking at a 4-stage approach where you've got daily ideation, you have got day 1, which is scripting and captions, day 2, which is about filming and creating, and day 3, which is about editing and finalizing. If you space these out into individual time blocks, then you're on top of your management. So that means that you can be consistent, that you can actually think with more purpose, have more specifics to an audience, have more clarity, create more value, be more authentic because you're not rushing it. Think about what's actually relevant and actually think about what you are doing with that piece of content to make it engaging, just by having better management formats associated with maintaining better consistency. That there breaks down this whole process, guys. Right. So the next thing from that point is storytelling. Am I telling stories with my content about me, about my life, about my past, about my future, about my clients, about my niche, right? Storytelling, and again on a previous YouTube video, is without question the biggest element that you need to focus on at all times, because the more that we get someone bought into your journey, the more that they're going to trust you, the more that they're going to feel connected to you, the more that they're going to engage with you, the more that they're going to interact, and the likelihood of you obviously getting sales off the back of that is going to be much greater by getting people bought into actually you as a person. From that point, you've then got optimization, again on a previous YouTube video. When we're basically looking at optimization, is it actually really clear who you are in your profile picture? Is it really clear who you are in your bio with your structure? Is it clear with your call to action, with the information you have in your links, with your story highlights, with your content, with your stories? Because if we've not got clear optimization, then it doesn't matter how well you are doing all of this stuff if someone doesn't even know what you do and how to book in with you and how to actually work with you, right? So optimization is very, very, very important, right? The next one from that point is distribution, right? Am I posting across all platforms? Because if you're not, guys, right, and you're just focused on Instagram alone, in reality, I always say that 90% of content, sorry, that's gone wrong, 90% of content that you create can be repurposed and reposted across all platforms. So reels and carousels can go onto Facebook, can go onto LinkedIn. Reels can go onto YouTube Shorts and TikTok as well. So really think about basically, in essence, like distribution, because if you are only posting to one place, you're only going to get one audience. If you're posting across all channels, you're going to have a much greater chance of getting other people through the door. From that point, analytics, right? Analytics will give you everything that you need to know about getting better at content, right? And if you are not reviewing analytics, it's silly, it's stupid, like, because if you're not looking at view rate and engagement rate and follower rate and all that stuff on a 30-day basis, you're creating content for the sake of it and you're not creating content that's actually landing with your audience, right? So when you're looking at this, if the analytics are down, you need to fucking change what you're doing in this area. Right? If analytics are up, sweet, I'm just going to double down on what's performing the best. It is literally, analytics gives you this option, right? Is this working? No, I need to change it. Is this working? Yes, I'll continue and focus on the best stuff. But if you're not actually checking those analytics, you're going to be onto a bit of a rough one straight away. And then what I've basically put down at the bottom here, guys, is the importance of this is not something that you just do once, right? You don't just be like, right, I've got this and I'm going to get it set, right? I want you to ask these questions every single month, right? Without question, you're going to turn around and you're going to have a critical reflection by turning around and going, right, am I actually creating purposeful content. Am I speaking to a specific person? Is it really clear what I do and how I do it in my content? Am I actually providing this niche with value? Am I actually being myself and being authentic with who I am and how I act? Am I presenting relevant based actual topics? When I'm creating this content, am I enjoying creating this content, and am I enjoying actually watching it back myself? Am I in a position where I can maintain content production and making sure that we're ticking all of these boxes at high level because I'm being consistent and managing everything well? Is it really clear what my story is and my client stories and my journey? And am I actually getting people bought into that? From that point, you've then got, are my pages actually optimized? So is it really clear what I do and how I'm doing it across all of my social media bios? From that point, we've then got cross-channel posting. So is it really clear what I'm doing, right, across all platforms? So am I using the same type of content across Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, and cross-channel posting so I can hit new audiences and reach new people? And then from that point, we've then got to a point of analytics, right? Once you've gone through 30 days of doing this, your analytics will turn around to you and tell you, sweet, right? That's not going to be used again because it didn't work very well. But that did work very well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically not do that stuff, and I'm going to double down on the stuff that's performed best, and I'm going to create 3x more content on what's landed the most. And all we basically do with this type of process is we just create, review, reflect, analytics. Create, review, reflect, analytics. And you create this ongoing cycle of improvement until it becomes second nature, where down the line you don't even need to do any of this type of reflection stuff because you're that good and you're that in touch with your audience that you're creating based on what you know that they're going to need. But if you're at a point where you feel like you're struggling with social media and you're a little bit all over the place, I would highly recommend running this type of assessment format, guys, because in essence this could completely change the game for you by just literally taking some time away, screenshot this screen, write these questions onto a Word document and answer those questions to yourself, right? Because if you can turn around and you're like, right, sweet, well, I know that I'm doing 4 out of 12, you need to focus on 8. If you know that you're doing 7 out of 12, you need to focus on 5. Right, if you're doing 12 out of 12 and it's still not working, that's where you need to be looking at your analytics and looking at potentially the fact that actually, am I actually speaking to the right audience, right? Am I actually really speaking about the right type of purposeful topics? Am I actually creating clarity? Is this valuable based on what I'm doing? But when you take in all of these different points together and you run a critical analysis and you really take the time and attention to focus on your social media content, guys, it'll completely change the game for you in business. Like literally completely change the game for you. But it just requires you to understand that, yes, you're an online coach and personal trainer, but in order to scale your business, you need to build your personal brand, you need to build a following, you need to build an audience, right? This is not the same as what it used to be. Social media needs to be an obsessive part of your job, guys. So if you are stuck with it, then again, run this type of format. And if you do want support with anything on social media, guys, literally that's the primary focus of our actual offer. So content acquisition and sales, because you don't get good acquisition and sales if your content and your personal brand isn't right in the first place. So if you do want any support with that, then there's a link in my bio, plenty of results that you can click through to see the people that we've supported. And if you do want any support with your business, guys, please feel free to book in a discovery call, and I'll see you on the next video.